I ended the last video having set up some key value pairs in the base bundle properties file, which I named basic text.properties. In this video, I want to add some text for different locales to internationalize my little Hello World application. I've got the project open from the last video, and I'll double click the ENCA version of the basic text properties file. Notice that I have not been prompted by IntelliJ to install its plugin, the Resource Bundle Editor. If you are prompted, as you saw in the last video, just click Install Plugin. If you don't see this pop up and you haven't installed it, you can find this plugin and others using the File menu, Settings, then Plugins, and searching the marketplace for this plugin. Once this is installed, you'll see two tabs at the bottom of the edit pane, Text and Resource Bundle, with text selected by default. I'll select the Resource Bundle tab. Now you can see that Yes is highlighted and there are text fields for each of the property files in the right pane. This lets me edit the values of each properties file for this one key and confirm I've included values. At this point, only the default locales properties file has a value for yes. I'll add yep there in the en_ca properties file and we for the fr_ca file. I want to do this for the other values. For no, I'll enter no in the English Canadian file, then none for French Canada. For hello, I'm going to leave the English Canadian text field empty, but put bonjour in the French Canada text field. For world, I'll enter whole earth for the Canadian English and le monde for the French Canadian word. Notice that both these entries contains spaces. You can use any text after the equal sign, including multiple words and paragraphs. If I run this code, there's a chance, depending on your own locale, that you might see something different. Because my system locale is ENAU, I get Hello World. If you're in Canada, you may see either Hello Whole Earth or Bonjour Le Monde. Let's see what we get for all three locales. I can specify the locale in the Get Bundle call. In fact, let's test this code for different locales by wrapping the code in a for loop. I'll insert an enhanced for loop around all the code I have so far in the main method. I'll loop for a locale variable L and create a list of locales I want to test, so locale.us, locale.canada_French, and just locale.canada after that. I'm going to comment out those first three system.out statements since they'd print the same data for every case. Running this code will give me the same result, Hello World. That's because when I use printf, it's going to use the default locale. If I want to test other locales, I need to pass the locale to the getBundle method, so I'll include the loop variable L as my second argument to the getBundle method. Now if I run it, if you're in Canada, then you'll see either Bonjour Le Monde twice or Hello Whole Earth twice, since we've set up specific properties files for these locales. Otherwise you'll get different text printed for each locale. Notice that for the English Canadian locale, I still get hello printed out, even though in my properties file, I didn't include a key value pair for it. Java's getString methods will use different resource files, if needed, to resolve keys, and that's part of the searching and matching algorithm I mentioned earlier. Because hello wasn't in the ENCA file, the process would have next searched just an EN file, but since that didn't exist, it fell back to whatever the value was in the base text properties file. This is by design, and actually helps save quite a bit of work. If Canadian English only has a few words that are different between all the other countries that speak English, you need only configure those certain words, not every keyed word. You can also have multiple resource bundles. For example, you could have another set of text for user interface widgets, like button labels and menu item lists. I'll create another resource bundle in IntelliJ, again under the Resources folder. So select New and Resource Bundle. This time I'll call it UI Components, and I'll just add one additional locale, this time just FR. You can see IntelliJ creates the base properties and the second one for just _FR. I'll select Text, the tab at the bottom of the Edit pane. I'll add a comment using the exclamation mark this time, saying this is button labels. You can include periods in the key names, so I'll do that next for these labels. Next, the key will be btn.submit for a button label, and I'll set that to submit. I'll do the same for a cancel button. This time I'll omit the equal sign just to show you that this format is supported. Now I'll set up the OK button, then a colon and the value OK. These last two entries are valid, but IntelliJ is indicating that this format doesn't match code style settings. I can see this message if I hover over either value. I'm going to ignore IntelliJ right now. I'll now select the Resource Bundle tab at the bottom of the editing window, and I'll select btn.ok. I'll enter the French equivalent for OK, which is d'accord. I'll add one more key, so I'll click on text. I'll add another comment that the keys are for dialog titles. I'll make the key first .title and set that to first application. I'll switch to the French file and pick the Resource Bundle tab and the first .title key. I don't speak French, so I look this text up in a translator. I'll paste that in the French UI components file. I'll go back to the main class's main method. First, instead of printing out the message, I'm going to store it in a variable. To make this work, I have to add a call to the formatted method. After that, I'm going to get my UI components bundle, putting that in a different variable. I'll pass the bundle name and the loop variable so the locale will change each loop instance. I'm going to use a tiny bit of Java's built-in user interface capabilities. I haven't wanted to use this before because there's a lot to talk about when dealing with user interfaces, and I'll have a whole section on these options later. For this example, I think it will be both fun and instructional. I'll start with a class called JOptionPane. This is in the javax.swing package, part of Swing, which is Java's graphical user or GUI interface toolkit that's been around a while. Java is steering people towards a new set of GUI components with its JavaFX platform, but currently JavaFX isn't packaged with the JDK. For that reason, I'm going to demonstrate this code with a simple Swing component. I'll call a static method on that class called showOptionDialog. There are other simpler methods like showMessageDialog or showConfirmDialog, but they ultimately call this method. These display a dialog window. The first argument is a parent element. Null means use the current window. I'll pass my localized message. This is the message that gets displayed to the user as part of the dialog. Next, I'm going to get my first .title message, and that's going to be the text displayed as the title of this dialog. The default option on JOptionPane just means this dialog will have an OK button. The message type information message is just used for information messages, which is valid here. The last three arguments are for an icon, any options, and an initial value, all of which I'll set to null. If I run this code now, you can see I first get a dialog window that has an I or information icon. It has my message in the center, and the title is First Application. I'll hit OK here, and I'll loop again and get a second dialog. This one almost entirely in French for my Canada French locale. I've got the French title, read from the UI components property file, and my message was constructed with text in the basic text properties file. Only the text OK might be questionable. Do the French say OK? We made that text in the basic text properties to be d'accord for the Canada French locale. I also have a btn.ok key in the UI components file for the French language. I'll hit OK here for now, and the third dialog for the third locale, Canadian English, is displayed. There are different ways to change the button text. I'll show you one way, which is to pass in the options for your buttons as one of the arguments to this method. I'll replace that second to last null in the method call with an object array which will contain the button label I want to use. In this case, I'll get it from the UI resource bundle and the btn.ok key. I'll run this again. The thing to note is that the button labels are lowercase, and the second dialog has the French equivalent, d'accord. I can pass in yes and no to this array, which might not make perfect sense here since our message isn't really a question, but I'll do it so you can just see it. I'm going to change UI to RB so it's using the first resource bundle, and I'll change btn.ok to yes. Next, I'll add a second string, this time using rb.getString with no as the key. If I run this now, I get the three dialog pop-ups again, but with yes and no buttons, and notice the text on these buttons vary by the locale. Okay, so this was just a little taste of internationalizing an application using the resource bundle class and property files in conjunction with locales. This is the most common way to support internationalization. This video ends this section. In the next one, I want to cover regular expressions. Regular expressions are very important for any programmer to learn, and I want to encourage you, if you're new to this topic, to get to know this powerful though cryptic feature. I'll see you in the next section.